All right, moving on. Let's talk about this guy, Yevgeny Prigozhin, and some of the reasons why the Russian government has finally come to a point where they must get rid of him. So, in my points, I'll be comparing a lot between Prigozhin and Kadyrov. So, starting with point number one is that Prigozhin is very hard to control. And this, I don't mean him personally because it's so easy just to take out the guy and he's gone. But I mean his whole outfit, the Wagner group. Mm. Beginning with their military structure, it's so different from the traditional military structure, such as the one that Kadyrov has in Chechnya. Because Kadyrov forces, they follow the traditional military structuring. You know, you have the generals, you have the commanders, the brigadiers, you have the battalions, the mechanized units, the engineers, all these kind of the assault forces. They are grouped in that way, the Kadyrov forces. But for the Wagner group now, they just have the commanders leading different groups, different units, um, which means that they don't have, for example, a special unit for like assault or for reconnaissance. They just have one unit. So they are so hard to control in this way. So meaning if you get rid of the guy so easily, just get rid of Prigozhin, what you be left with is almost uncontrollable. You don't know how you cannot replace him with someone else immediately. So I think that's why it was taking some time, and that's why I raised that point. Number one, it's hard to control. Number two is how he deals with people he disagrees with. And this has been a problem from the capture of Bakhmut until recently. And also, I think this is a headache for Putin because for Putin and the Ministry of Defense, we can see how this guy deals with the people he is having a disagreement with. He doesn't have a civil discourse with them to reach an agreement, and he's not very good at negotiating. Uh, because I remember when they were told, when the MOD in Russia said that they need to sign contracts, both the Chechens and the Wagner group and all the other groups fighting for Russia in Ukraine. The other groups, by large, they didn't argue. They didn't have so much to to contend with. But for this guy, he just came out outright and he refused and he said, "We are not going to sign those contracts." And mind you, they are fighting in the same side. They are belligerents in the same side. So I don't know why he deals that way with maybe if you have a certain disagreement such as this, I think you would have a sit down with your guys back in Russia to so that you can raise your disagreement and know uh, and reach an a common idea. Because even with the deserters, those people who switch from Wagner and then they start fighting for other groups, even those who leave Wagner and join now the Russian military itself. The guy is so brutal with them, and he has been known to issue threats and public. He makes videos almost I don't know a dozen videos a day. He's known to make very serious threats, and some of the threats I understand they have been carried out to punish those who have left the group. So this guy, in dealing with disagreements, he's not very stable. Okay, moving on to the third point is that up to now, I think Russia itself, the Russian government, had been using him to do its dirty work. But now I feel as if they have reached a point where they see now this guy is used, he's spent. We no longer need him. After the capture of Bakhmut, because after Bakhmut, the next one, Chasavyar, I don't think they want this guy to be involved in that because of the past, what he has been doing in the past, and what they have. I think he has reached his expiry date. That's why they have seen that there is no other choice but to get rid of this guy. Because after Bakhmut, now I don't think they had any other bigger task than that for him. Because I think Bakhmut was very it was very strategic and it was very symbolic for Russia to capture. That's why they even used such kind of people as Prigozhin. So moving on to point number 4 is that he's causing a very bad image for Russia and its operation. It's if you can go by that, the special military operation in Ukraine. He's painting a very bad picture and creating a very bad reputation for the Russians in Ukraine, beginning by as I said, the videos he makes, some of them are very embarrassing. He's very vulgar and he spills the beans. He's even showing revealing the Russians' military secrets. So I think that's another thing there. He's not building a very good reputation for them. And also, point number 2 is his reputation for violence. He's known for violence and brutality. Yes, we saw in Bakhmut. Yes, it was taken, but looking at what was taken, there is nothing there. The buildings are all destroyed. There is no infrastructure. The roads are, everything is gone. So even capturing that, it's not like if we compare that with the capture of Crimea, and I know because I can see the charts. Someone saying even in Crimea the Wagner group was involved. Yes, they were involved, but they were not up to this level. At that point, we can say they were somehow professional, and they were not enlisting prisoners and all these inmates, all these people bringing in the. And also, I think at that time the agitation was much lower. That's why Crimea was not destroyed as we saw in Bakhmut. So that's another thing. The kind of destruction that he caused in Bakhmut is always, there's nothing to hold on to there. So that's also builds a very bad image that even for Russia to sell on its own citizens, to say now we have captured this city. But you see what we see in the news, what has been captured is almost of no strategic value. So moving on to point number 5 is that he doesn't have the political, how can I put it? He's not a key player in the politics in Russia. Yes, he's a key ally of Putin and the administration, but in terms of politics, he doesn't appear anywhere because for him he's an entrepreneur, and then he doesn't have the political responsibility. As I said, I'll compare with Kadyrov because comparing with Kadyrov, we can say that Kadyrov, he has something to lose. He has Chechnya to lose and the leadership of Chechnya and his army if he tries to rebel against the normal Russian forces. So for Prigozhin, he doesn't have any political responsibility. For him, he's just a leader of a mercenary group, and also he's also much interested in the money he's getting out of all these operations. So that's another thing. So that's another reason for Russia to get rid of him, because anyway they see if we get rid of him, there's nothing that we are losing, or there's no much instability that this guy can cause. They cannot cause a very big dent in the Russian society. And those are the 5 major ones, and others is like his military strategy is not good, and this is something that has been mentioned by some of the generals and some of the leaders. Some of them from the mainstream Russian military, and some of them actually have died in Ukraine, and some of them have been saying that his military strategy is not as good as they would like, because, for example, the taking of Bakhmut, because this is the significant one that people can talk about the Wagner group. His taking of Bakhmut was just, storming. No matter how many people, guys from your side die, you must capture this thing by all means. So you first of all you use a lot of human capital in capturing such a small town, and then the next thing is that you are rushing in at a very high rate, which is not good in any military campaign. That's why I was talking about having engineers, having reconnaissance units, having assault teams, and having the team to consolidate the part which you have already captured. Because now what the Wagner group did in Bakhmut, they went in very fast, captured it, and then withdrew. They said we are withdrawing, which doesn't make any any military sense. Because doing that, you are prone. If a counter offensive came, except that for this time Ukraine failed. But if the Ukraine had made a very good counter offensive, all of the part that the Wagner had captured would have been lost in a very few days. So I think that is something else that the Russians are not very happy about. And for this, you'll notice that I'm not quoting any news outlets or any articles, because for information about for this guy Wagner and Prigozhin, getting information about him, if you just concentrate on the mainstream media, for example, the Western media, you have to take everything you get with a pinch of salt, or even sometimes a handful of salt. If you take it from Russian state media, RT, all these things from Iranian media, from every side, you cannot get the. Everyone is biased nowadays. I think that has been something that has come out from this Russia-Ukraine conflict, is that the biasness now is live. Everyone can see it. So I think those are some of the things that I think the Russian government has been fed up with by this guy, and that's why they finally reached a decision to get rid of him. So yes, I'm reading the chats. I can see the guys commenting, but I'll be replying to those comments, and also make sure you also comment, give me your feedback. Maybe you can correct me on something that I said that was you disagree with what I'm saying, which is good for discourse. So with that, let's observe what will be happening in the coming few days. And till next time, see you, and I hope you stay safe.
Please make sure you subscribe, comment and share for more videos.